Holy hell, he did it, and I'm ready to eat all my words today.
I knew this was gonna happen. I had a feeling.
I'm ready to eat all my words. I said there was no chance, nothing to expect here, and holy hell, he did it. Rohit Raju is your new Impact X Division champion.
Yes.
Beating and backstabbing Chris Bey. I can't believe this happened. And nonetheless, after all, I feel like all the grief I've been giving him, and rightfully so, because that's what the character's been doing. Yes. But nonetheless, man, I can't believe Emergence Night 1 started off like that, which was an amazing match. TJP is just amazing in the ring.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, it's been a while since you kind of get to see him in like singles form. Mm-hmm. But yeah, talk about that win by Rohit Raju. I can't believe it. But anyway, Miranda, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. And yeah, what a way to kickstart Emergence with that match on night 1. It really did set a precedence that this is truly a new chapter in Impact Wrestling. We thought we saw that at Slammiversary, but Emergence is coming up and saying, nah, not yet. So, I mean, look, I have to admit, I was on this cast just last week telling you, not to count out Rohit Raju, that there was going to be something about him that was going to be this wild card factor in this match. Now, granted, I didn't realize how just right I was going to be. I didn't expect to be completely right. I'm surprised. I thought that he was going to play a pivotal role, but not to the fact that he was going to win the X Division Championship. But, in some ways, it's a little bit of, what Chris Bey did with Johnny Swinger, kind of coming back to bite him, that, so maybe it's a way karma. I'm not entirely sure, but yes, we do now have a new X Division champion with Rohit Raju, even though I do think that I agree. TJP really stole the show with that, his performance in that match. Yeah. I mean, the submissions and the moves that he did throughout that match was a highlight. We don't get to see that because he's been in tag team action for quite a while. So it was a real treat to see that. And of course, the story isn't over yet. Chris Bey will have an automatic rematch. So who knows when we're going to see that. But yeah, we have the reign of Raju now.
I don't know what to make of it, but yeah, I'm just eating my own words, and I am even more invested now in the X Division because yes, this does now put. I mean, and again, I still think we get the TJP and Chris Bey singles match happening, whether it's for the gold or not, numbers for number 1 contender or not. Whether they do this 3-way dance again, who knows? But everybody talks about Rohit Raju being one of the hardest workers in the locker room. So it's always good to see that person get their big moment. But nonetheless, based on how the story's been booked with him, it's absolutely a great thing. I feel really hard for this one. So I thought it was just the perfect way to start off night 1, which was a really tremendous start of Emergence. So night 1 tonight. And then we'll get night 2 next week. But yes, way to start off the show. But yeah, so many other things we want to talk about all over the place. Of course, it's not Jerry Miranda here. We are ready to talk about Impact on AXS TV, our weekly review. And tonight is night 1 of their special Emergence. So if you haven't been caught up with that, yes, that's what we're talking about. And as always, if you have not checked out our review, we don't break down the entire card. We really just speak about the things that really jumped out at us and the things that you definitely want to check out. And I got to say, Emergence Night 1, Match 1, Moment 1, Second 1, you definitely want to see because the night started out guns a-blazing. It was a hell of a match. But going into later on in the night, now we will clearly talk about the main event, but I have to say really quick before it jumps out of my head here, Eric Young with an amazing promo vignette for him and talking about he's at his purest form and we're getting to get the whole rundown of his history with Impact, kind of his mishaps in his last, he said 2 years. Was he only in WWE for 2 years?
It feels maybe it was just more of his like SmackDown roster run, because I think there was some really cool things in NXT.
Right.
And so maybe that was the acknowledgement that, I don't know. It felt like he was there for longer though. I'm pretty sure he
Definitely
was
feel
there
like
for
it's
more
been
than 2
longer than
years.
2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. But
But
shots fired in his promo. Shots fired multiple times during tonight, actually.
yeah, I was
And he
about to
talked about
say.
he was elite before being elite was cool. Like, he really went into it. And it's also the acknowledgement of who he was in the past. He literally has been every character in every persona in wrestling. He's been underneath a mask. He's been a good guy. He's been the funny guy. He's been a patriot of Canada. He's and doing all of these things. But now he's in what he's calling his truest form. And I 100% believe him.
Yeah, I mean, he cut a straight anime promo right there. If I ain't know no better, like, he was definitely going to come out with a transformation of some sort. But either way, I mean, it just shows the testament of how much he lives and breathes professional wrestling. He's done it all. And I think right now, more or less than so in 2020, he's like, hey, this is time for me to bank on myself, do what I got to do. And I absolutely felt every moment of the promo, especially the ending of him saying he's in his truest purest form. So, I am all for this Eric Young 2020 run in Impact, and we're going to definitely see where that goes, because he's unhinged and he's hurting people and he does not care. All right, where we going at next? I gave us two. Where you want to go? I already got an idea, but I'll just in case, I could, because me, I've been pretty wrong with my predictions here.
Yeah. No. I'm going to do a little bit of a swerve, and I don't know. I mean, talking about Eric Young and kind of leading into something that's developed from that too is Willie Mack. And, last week we saw him trying to seek vengeance against his friend Rich Swann, who Eric Young hurt multiple times. He was trying to do a promo, an interview with Jimmy Jacobs, and he was interrupted by the most professional wrestler, Brian Myers. And so, Brian, again, another kind of shots fired with him talking about, I think that's what this jumped at me. I was very surprised that his interview with Jimmy Jacobs was as blunt as it was. But again, I actually like seeing this side of Brian Myers. He was someone, if you would have asked me a month ago if he would be someone I'd be interested in watching, I would have said, meh. But the little bits I'm seeing of him every week is getting me more and more interested. It's reeling me in. And now we're, I'm going to be seeing him against Willie Mack next week on night 2 of Emergence. Willie Mack was not having Brian Myers interrupt his promo, especially as he was talking about his good friend Rich Swann. And so we're going to see these two go at it next week. And again, I mean, I know Willie Mack can put on a fantastic match with anyone. But with Brian Myers, I'm still getting to learn who he is as a wrestler. I do think night 2, this is going to be a sleeper match. I don't think very many people are going to, think much of it, but after the match is done, people are going to be fairly surprised on how good it was.
I want to also add that Willie Mack, when it comes to a mic being in his vicinity, is one of the purest talkers out there. Mm-hmm. He talks so natural, and it's like it's him. There's no wrestling promo that's happening here. It is just him reacting to questioning. Like, he says something about where's your head at, and he said like it's on my shoulders. Last time I checked.
Yeah, it's right here. I don't
natural, killed it there. Also, on a side note too, I have to say that seeing Jimmy Jacobs in a backstage role has been like, okay, I get it, organic, like it works. I guess it's like, it's an opportunity, it's a role, whatever it may be. Then I started thinking for a minute. I was like, I would be all for seeing him getting back in the ring here. And I think there's a very open spot for not only just his experience and veteranship in the ring, but his character work. And I think like this could be an opportunity for them to just really further showcase how stacked this Impact roster is, both in and out of the ring. So I just had a quick thought about that, seeing him backstage, because he really, he's doing a lot of the social media stuff and Mal backstage promo and promo work, but they're all getting cut off of sort. They're not really living up to his max potential. I wouldn't mind seeing the guy back in the ring. So yeah, just think about that. So
Hey, Impact Wrestling has taught us that they can utilize people in ways that other companies haven't, or never were able to. So, I do love his role backstage, both on screen and off screen. And I think that's been really, really well suited for him. I think that if he were to do something, I would imagine it'd be a very one-off, and very story driven. So, who knows? We are in 2020, the year that there's so many things that were unpredictable were to happen. But I think I'm happy with what he's doing right now.
yeah. All right. Next, what you want to talk about?
Well, of course, I'm going to bounce around, but I always got to talk about Wrestle House. This is
the newest, hottest wrestling reality show.
Oh man! Well, all of this week was tied up with this upcoming match between Kylie Rae and Taya Valkyrie that was set up last week. It was the only match we actually got this week in Wrestle House, which means it's a pretty big deal. But we got a story, brewing up with someone stole the Diener's beers. Their beers are gone. So it's a mystery. It's a whodunit now. It's going to be maybe a wrestling version of Clue, the movie. And they find out who stole the beers, as well as Larry D being still very infatuated by Rosemary. Her plan to make Johnny Bravo jealous seems to be working. And of course, Johnny Swinger with the one-liners this week. I mean, he's on probation, man. Like he could not been the one who stole the beers. So there's just all those little things, again, making it a really funny segment. And then we actually have the match between Taya and Kylie, which had Rosemary as the referee. So some shenanigans are in place, which I think is actually great because I hope to get to see this again in more of a traditional match. So you could call some shenanigans because of Wrestle House, but a really fun match. Kylie Rae is just, the top face in the Knockouts division. I think that she is just fantastic, both in her character and in her in-ring work. And I thought she had a really, really good match against Taya.
I just had to quickly search real quick because you mentioned Clue, the movie.
Yeah.
I was like, I remember that. But I started thinking like, wait, when did that come out? I don't even think.
Don't date me. Don't.
For purposes of us continuing to work our reviews, I'm not going to reveal what year that movie came out.
I am not as old as that movie. Hold on. Let's look. I have seen the movie because it is out. You can see it on very many platforms, but I am not as old as that movie. Let's just put the facts straight.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna move on because I'm not I'm not gonna create any tension. I really don't have much to talk about the Moose and Trey Miguel match, but beyond, it was good, really worked. I really liked how it was worked actually. But we should talk about EC3, who ultimately came at the end of the match and stole the the TNA Heavyweight Championship as a statement here. I don't know what to make it is, but I know him and his creating his narrative thing. This could be very much interesting because he spoke about not being really contained or, stuck in one place. And now him having a title attached to him, what is he going to do with this? And at this point now, what won't he do with this is the question. So, and we all knew it was coming to this point. So here we are now. So what's your feelings on this?
I am now starting to backtrack on the beginnings of this story with just Moose becoming the TNA world champion and him creating his own narrative by telling, the world he was world champion, by setting up his invitation only matches, by forcing the referee and the ring announcer to announce him and acknowledge him. He's really built his own narrative. And now you have this contrast with EC3, who is coming in to build his own narrative as well. So for me, and I don't know if I'm reading too deep into this, but I love this. You have two men who build their own narratives, technically around a defunct championship. but it's so ingrained in Impact history, and both men are acknowledging it in very different ways. But I think it's such good storytelling. To me, like, there's layers on this that I didn't even expect, that I didn't even think about until tonight. And even some of the things that you said about, EC3 and really exploring his narrative, and now taking the belt, it's about being able to tell his narrative while, we've had Moose for months now, almost, share his narrative on being the TNA world champion. So I'm very interested in how this grows, with two men using this championship to define their careers almost. And it's not it's defunct. It's not even active.
Yeah.
Like, that's good storytelling when you have a defunct championship helping really tell a story with two men who are both physically athletic. I mean, they could tell a good story in the ring, but what they're telling outside of the ring, I think is just phenomenal.
All right, here we go, doing my good old research here, because that's always a really important thing. So I am curious to know if the Impact World Championship is active and based
the TNA,
on
the TNA,
excuse me, yes. And based on, nope, it is not. All right, yep, based on the online database out here, the wrestling database, doesn't look like they are counting it. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. Nonetheless, the important thing about this is that, yes, Moose is creating his narrative. He wants to be the champ. He's defending it. He's acting actively like a champ, and he has the championship pedigree written all around him. It makes sense. But yeah, this is the first time we've seen him chasing in a long time. So how does this change his strategy? How does this change his manipulation? How does he approach this situation? That's, again, really good storytelling here. And I expect those two big mammoths to eventually tangle up in a ring. Maybe it's an unsanctioned match. Who knows what it's going to be? But I expect it to happen very, very soon.
Yes.
Okay. Good Brothers versus Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. Now, we talked about our excitement for this match, but what I never realized is that we haven't officially seen Ace Austin and Madman Fulton work cohesive as a tag team. So you do have two people, when it comes down to, attacks backstage or off-site, whatever it may be, they click. But when it's inside the square circle and the ring and bell rings, how would they operate? That's something I never thought. And it's so weird, regardless if it's the storytelling or if it's just, just the way of the world. They had some mishaps with each other. And you do expect that, and it makes sense. So I love how that's done. And I love how they were able to call that into play here against the Good Brothers, who's obviously been together since day one. And, been all around the world, winning all championships. I want more of this. Again, I'm all on board for Madman Fulton as long as he's getting opportunities and becoming and getting the spotlight and continue to working on himself, not only just as an in-ring worker, but just as a character. And there's no tag team better than to do it than the Good Brothers, who again just has worked endless people around the world. And I think this was such a really well polished match, considering that you had a tag team that's pretty much amateurs to these veterans, and it flowed really, really good. I mean, if the main event wasn't the main event, this was a main event for me. It did everything it needed to do for me as far as a match.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes back to the storytelling. They did a fairly a pretty good job over the past few weeks building up to how annoyed and aggravated the Good Brothers have been with Ace Austin and Madman Fulton, so that when they got into the ring and they pretty much just launched at them, like, it made a lot of sense. So I think that the aggression that we saw throughout the match helped, was helped by the storytelling we've seen over the past few weeks. And the Good Brothers, I mean, you're absolutely right. A cohesive team that's been doing this for years on end versus a fairly new partnership between Ace and Madman. And also, when you do look at the dynamic between Ace and Madman, it's kind of been, Ace really manipulating things and Madman really enforcing them. So I could see why there was some miscommunication breakdown because, they've been playing some different roles. That dynamic is great when you have, a bodyguard or someone who is, there to protect you. But when you're there working as a team, it doesn't quite translate the same way. So I was surprised, kind of like Josh Matthews said on commentary, that it took a while for things to break down. I thought they were going to go at it right away. I was surprised on how structured the match was at the beginning because after, getting the cops involved and being thrown into jail, getting your car stolen, like all these things that just happened throughout the past few weeks, I'm surprised the Good Brothers, were as restrained as they were.
Yeah. I know they're living in two different dimensions, but if anybody is truly wondering where the beer has went, I would definitely check in with the Good Brothers. It's a good chance that they have it.
Oh, man. That's some layered storytelling in there. Storytelling.
Although I don't think the Deaners want any trouble there. So,
nah.
Yeah.
That's a good point,
Best to go ahead and get you a new pack.
Yeah. You have the Good Brothers as if you're talking beer analogies, like your good classic beer, and then you have the Deaners, which are, like your Coors Light or something like that,
Yeah. Now, again, the main event, but before we get to the main event, Rohit Raju did it. I can't believe this. He upset. He pulled the biggest upset.
Just if you have missed the past, 3 minutes of this, it's shocked. 2020 continuing to be the year of surprises. Did you wake up, January 1st of 2020 and think, I think Rohit Raju is going to win the X Division championship? Did you think this morning when you woke up, you think, I think Rohit Raju is going to win the X Division championship? No. Either way, no.
I didn't see it coming at all. Therefore, I'm not predicting. I'm gonna stop predicting. I might retire my prediction. This one hurt me. Not seriously. It's just so awesome for the win. Like that's amazing. I can't wait to see this title offense, how that's handled. Hopefully, he gets a run. That's the other thing too. The win is big, and but let's see what this run could do. Let's see who else targets him now. Who else decides to wants to step up here? He's been a person who's had a lot of people's back and help and support or whatever it may be. There might be a lot of IOUs that he has to fulfill. So we'll see.
I foresee he's going to do everything in his power not to defend that championship. He will be that champion who will use every excuse and trick in the book to not get in the ring with anybody. He's gonna, I see he's gonna put Chris Bey and TJP against each other. He's gonna, go through the gambit so that there isn't even a number one contender. So then that way he can't even get into the ring with someone. I 100% see that because he used that scheming to get to this point. You don't think he's not going to scheme to stay?
He could just be an honorable fighting champion at this point. He could just, he really could. I mean, hey, my prediction's been wrong, so don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. Yes, let's talk about the main event here. Now, before we talk about the main event, I know I keep getting to it and I keep pulling back off the trigger a little bit. Rumor has it that Ethan Page's contract is coming up at the end of this year, and potentially, he's being really lobbied or courted to, shall I say, by all promotions, as rightfully so. The guy's great, both in the ring, both ring work, both promo work, and outside the ring, his personal life. He does a lot of good things. He creates content, so he's definitely a really good, hot commodity come free agency. But I will be remiss if I didn't say that the North is one of the best tag teams in all of professional wrestling. And if that was ever to fizzle out, I just would be so, I mean, Ethan Page will have to be a heel of heels at that point, because like the work that they're doing, him and Josh Alexander, is just something so organic that we just, I cannot see wrestling without it. I am not going to feed into those rumors at all. I feel like he's loyal to Impact. I know he's loyal to his friend, and the North works. But you know, I just had to mention this since I seen the rumors.
I think it's important because as we'll talk more about what happened with the match, it does leave you wondering what is next for the North. Yeah. You know, they've been the dominant tag team and champions now for over a year, and now that stint ended with the Motor City Machine Guns, you wonder what is truly next for them. North, and we saw that go into a different direction. Maybe that is still the case, who knows? But you know, I absolutely agree with you. The North is one of the best things about Impact Wrestling, period. And if we were to lose them, I mean, that would be something huge for Impact, to not have, you know, Ethan there. I mean, it could mean more opportunities for singles competitions for both of them, whether Ethan does go to another promotion and Josh Alexander stays, because Josh Alexander is a phenomenal wrestler in and of itself. But the dynamic they have, especially Ethan being that mouthpiece for them, I mean, it scares me a little bit. Gets me a little scared about Impact Wrestling without the North.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my thing. It got me scared. I was like, "Ooh, this is not a rumor I want to even think about right now." They say December, but
they've worked so hard to build up to where they're at now, and so when you lose pieces like that, I mean, we've seen them be able to readjust. We've seen them be able to pivot in ways that, you know, other companies it would be such a challenge for, and they did it fairly well. So could they recover? Absolutely, but you know, how challenging would it be to essentially rebuild your tag team division after you just got it stabilized, like literally just as Anniversary stabilized it?
I even got a better approach. I mean, when you think about how much the North has put into this division, why would they walk away from their creation? You know, they kept this division afloat when it did not have or get the attention it deserved, or Impact was suffering from the tag team division being the weakest of all the divisions, but the North was still on top and supreme no matter who they worked. So, you know, what I see here, and obviously let's talk about the Motor City Machine Guns versus the North in the main event as a rematch from Slammiversary, which we really highly been anticipating, is that with the North losing, the question is what's next for the North? Well, I like the idea of seeing them start from the bottom and working their way back up. That does not only create story for the North, but that also gives the opportunity for new tag teams to work the best tag team without it being considered a title shot. So it's like, well, how did that team of whoever just automatically get a shot? You know what I mean? Because you can't operate the same way how Moose is operating here. We can call the shots, but like, why not have them work their way back up and keep the Motor City Machine Guns still with the championship, working from the top? They're working from the bottom, and let them meet in the middle again. And, you know, Bound for Glory. Let's do it one more time. And what month is Bound for Glory in?
October.
Pretty close to the end of the year, I would say. I would think that I if there's any doubt, if you want to make sure you keep one of your hottest tag teams and talent on your roster, you make sure that you keep them relevant and keep them still doing what they do best. And I think there's no better time to let them shine on their biggest stage of Bound for Glory. So I do not foresee Ethan Page leaving Impact, but it did scare the hell out of me. And this main event was just shows you no matter who won and who lost, they both won, because these are two of the best tag teams of all of professional wrestling. Now, the Motor City Machine Guns are arguably considered one of the best teams for the last 20 years. You know, and they put on a classic here. I don't think we were worthy to just see this on just AXS TV here. This was pay-per-view quality as and a rematch here, and they delivered it in all types of just the ring chemistry and IQ. Like it just all works. I was And I also got to say too, maybe it's my paranoia, but like Ethan Page, I even felt like brought one of his best game in the ring. Like he, and of course, the character showboats a little, but very minimum at the pin he did. Of course, that's part of the storytelling. But as far as just how crispy was in the ring and everything, they were clicking on all cylinders. I love this match. It was really well done.
Yeah, I was surprised that they booked this rematch as early as they did for night one of Emergence. I thought we were going to have to wait until Bound for Glory. I still would love to see this match at Bound for Glory, whether it's one more time. But I really liked this match. I really liked the chemistry between the two teams. And yeah, I mean, it does get me scared to think about the future of the North. I do also believe, though, that the tag team championships are in really great hands with the Motor City Machine Guns. You have a really great face tag team holding them, one with a lot of history. But I also would imagine that this is not going to be a forever run. So whoever gets these belts off the Motor City Machine Guns means that, the company is serious about them. Who knows if that means it's the North? Who knows if that is the Good Brothers? Who knows if it's another team? There's a lot of what ifs that could happen. But, I do love this story being told between the Motor City Machine Guns and the North, because it's very different teams, even though they work well and they have great dynamics, very different in attitude and in personality and even in history. So, I think there's more to be told. I hope we can get one more match that goes for the North facing some other teams in the meantime, and same thing for the Motor City Machine Guns, and then they reconverge somewhere in the future.
Absolutely. That absolutely is my exclamation point for the review for tonight. Is there anything you want to add? Because yes, that's just well said for me.
Now, I mean, if anything, I am super excited for night two. We got the announcement that EC3 is going to address, his intentions with the TNA World Championship. Eddie Edwards has his open challenge next week as well. Willie Mack's going to be in the ring, which is always great. But the piece de resistance is going to be the 30-minute Ironman match for the Knockouts title. I mean, that is something that I'm super thrilled and excited about for next week. I am sure it's going to be fantastic. It's probably going to be most of the conversation that we talk about next week. I mean, how will it not? Especially since they keep mentioning it's going to main event. That's a big deal, and it's a big kudos to Impact Wrestling for showcasing their Knockouts division. There's a lot of criticism on other companies that aren't putting as much attention to their women's division. Impact Wrestling is doing that, so kudos to them.
Look at you taking shots too.
Hey, look, hey. I didn't name no names. You don't need to worry about it, but
it is what it is. Hey, stay back.
Yeah.
Yes, well, we'll be back next Tuesday for night 2 of Emergence. Hopefully you checked out night 1. It was amazing. Catch up. Come, as always, if you are checking out reviews, thank you so much. Comment under below your thoughts about night 1. What are you expecting for night 2? And as always, we will be covering it. We will be talking more and more Impact for weeks to come. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you then. Bye.